composition. I like how you got the line kind of, you got the line of the ship starting at the corner and leading in, and you got some nice triangles here. And you probably could have cropped it off maybe just a little bit more, kind of bring you a little closer into the action, but it's a good shot. Exposure seems pretty well. Your smoke's not blown out, so good job.
Reflection of history.
Okay. I'm going to steal one of Ellen's lines. We've had a conversation on something that was similar to this before, and I'm seeing it now in this image, and it's the reflection that is down below. The repeat pattern. There is wave action that you have in the water that is not indicative to what you're doing in the reflection. That reflection should actually be a little more pronounced than it is. So that's telling me that they duplicated it, inverted it, and tried to add some water effect to it. But overall, very good image.
Reflections of the Perry 200 Memorial Day Parade.
So I see that I get these shots because I can't identify the instruments, so I get these. This one had a little bit more trouble with the exposure. We have blown out areas and very deep shadows. Because this guy is so much in shadow, the image really becomes over here. We see his face, but unfortunately we don't see his eye. We land on his nostril. And honestly, that's probably not the most flattering part of a person to look at. I understand that their visors come down low, but the first image, we saw the eye, and that's what you're striving for. Nice use of the shapes, the circles, and the repeating angles. I'd probably be inclined to crop off some on the left, maybe there. Maybe just darken back there. But the trouble is we've got real bright here, and so we look here, and we've got real bright over there. And we skip him. And that's not feeling right.
Rigging.
Cool image. Great use of of detail and texture. I actually think this might have been a really cool black and white. Actually, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh, this would have been awesome black and white because you got some nice highlights. You got really crisp detail and everything. Although it's I kind of go back and forth because you got the browns and the in the blue, and they kind of complement each other. But strong image. I like the composition too.
Rope work.
I like the way this image utilizes the ropes that are actually in the bow. That swirling pattern or that repeating pattern in the ropes leads you right up to this subject. I like the way that is. Your exposure and your clarity on the name is there. There's no blown highlights in the ship itself. A little distracting. It takes away a little bit on the mast up above, but there's very rarely which you could do anything with that. But I like it overall, this work here.
Securing the sail.
this, it cries out that it's supposed to be symmetrical, only it's not. And so that part is a little bit distracting to me, that the lines here don't match the lines there when we're pretty close down here. But the graphic nature of this and doing it in a monochrome was such a good idea, and being able to see the detail. Might like to see just a little bit more detail, brighten this part up just a little bit more so that our eye really hangs here. But I think this was very cleverly seen. If you had gotten down just a little bit lower, and so this occurred maybe just a little bit higher than in the frame, these triangles on the right and left probably have been minimized, and you would have been left with a strong one that's down here.
Service remembered.
Cool image, cool idea. I like the whole superimposed Perry guy. You got to watch your edges, watch your frames, make sure you're not, watch your cropping. It doesn't feel like it feels like I got too much down here, like maybe a little tighter crop might have added to the, to the effect. But I like the use of black and white.
Sore landed.
The exposure's good on this one, but the grass does not add anything to this image at all. Trying to tie in the grass to the ship, the two of them really don't tie together. We've got some good exposure on this, some nice triangles in the image to add some strength, but I don't like the idea that we're using grass as a frame for the mast of the ship.
Starburst sails.
This is a nicely done, very graphic image. Love how the bursts of color are the stars and how well they're placed. There's nothing that really takes us away from the masts and the ropes and sails and flags, except for the fact that the clouds are so heavy over here. In this case, I think it does work. I think it balances this out, but you have to be really careful when you have clouds and that much detail in your background. In this case, the yellow pulls it off and balances that. So I think it's very well done.
Sun and sails.
I really like this one. I like that it's at an angle. I like the colors. It's got like a really moody kind of storms coming look to it. Like I really get a sense of, like it's got a lot of impact to it. I get a sense of, what's about to happen. Maybe a little more detail in the masts and stuff like that. But I think that almost kind of adds to the effect of kind of like the gloomy atmosphere that was obviously painted for this.
The Commodore's steps.
Agreed. a little too much foreground in this. The image is actually the steps and the use of the painting and illusion of the mural.
Where's this at?
foreground and cropping off here would have actually focused in on the subject a little bit more.
The Pillar of Old Glory. Tyler. 22.
Another very graphic image. I like how the red and white are on oblique angles and waving and balance out the bright blue with the waves and the stars. The only question I have is whether it is distracting or not to see his face. And that's probably a matter of personal preference somewhat. Probably some of you are fine with it, and probably some of you would feel that the image was a little stronger if you could see his face.
Her wonderful Sam.
There.
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 Cool shot. It actually does kind of have some symmetry to it. You know, these boats kind of do pull you in. Oddly enough, and I always like to see kind of random seagull shots in my pictures because I always think they kind of look cool. But in this case, I almost would take this out because this might look better if it was cropped in a little bit tighter without the, you know, the foil bombing seagull in there.
Waiting for the tall ships to sail.
Very nice image. Well exposed. The guy looks salty as I don't know what, so he's been around for a while. There's no doubt about it. No distraction on the subject at all. It is definitely the gentleman and his pipe. The background doesn't take away from it. I wouldn't suggest anything different on this image.
Watching the tall ships.
You know, the image is very contrasty. That angle on the clouds always is very difficult because the clouds tend to burn out. And we've got the very bright highlights all over. So we've got a ton of energy in parts of the image that aren't really where we're supposed to be looking. Where we're supposed to be looking, apparently, is at the people who are watching the tall ships. Well, the people we don't see so much detail in, and they're looking away from us, and we can't even see what they're looking at. If we could see what they were looking at, it would make the image stronger. And this little bit right here of the boat is not adding to it.
Window reflections of Sorlendet rigging.
I like the colors. I like it's, you know, the yellow and blue, nice and complementing colors. I just don't like the waviness. Yeah, I get that it's looking through a reflection, but I just don't. It's just not pleasing to my eye. Composition's good though. I like the angles. You know, it's got, you know, it's nice set up in thirds. You know, I think compositionally it's, you know, it's very strong, but